Now, how do we use this type of knowledge in a civilian solve crime sense? So, for example, we got Fitbit data, right? And Fitbit data, or not only Fitbit, but also from your device and device attached to it, keeps track of your steps, keeps track of your pulse, keeps track of many different parameters for your health and what things are you doing throughout the day. So, in this case, this is females, an older a female is found murdered at her house. So the police go there to investigate and then try to figure out what happened. And they reach out to the husband of her mother, again, an elderly man, and they ask him, "Hey, have you seen the victim on this day?" And the person expressed that, yeah, he had seen her in a vehicle going by the house with an unknown gentleman as she was waving goodbye as he was going by the house, right? Um, well, what the police were able to figure out is that when they found the victim, deceased in her house, they found out that she had a Fitbit on, and they were able to take the Fitbit data, also with telephone data, and determine that at a particular point during that day, her heartbeat went from a normal uh, uh, rhythm to a really highly elevated rhythm, and immediately dropped off to zero, and then no more pulse detected, right? Obviously, that indicates possibly time of death. So they know at what time that happened, and they reached out to the neighbors that had surveillance cameras around that street, and they were able to determine that the husband of her mom was at her house, and his vehicle was parked in her driveway. Not only that, he was delivering a pizza to the house, which was found right there next to the victim, right? This gentleman was then prosecuted for murder, right? So the point of this is we were able to determine based on, hey, we expect this heartbeat to be moving at certain times. The fact that this pattern has been broken tells me something about the real world, something that has changed, right? And there are many, many examples of this where you expect, say, a victim to do certain movements, and then you see a lack of movement. Well, it's an indication that foul play may have happened, right? Or vice versa. When a pattern is broken and something else is done, it might give you clues in regards to things you haven't seen before, right? So that's pattern of life in a nutshell. Now, how's that manifest in iOS devices? iOS devices being iPhones, be it iPads, and even being Mac OS computers. How's that present itself? Well, historically, it was the knowledge C database. And knowledge C database is a SQLite database. It's located at this path within iOS devices. And it's SQLite based, right? So it's a relational database. And traditionally, we describe those as having tables, rows, and columns. And the example most people give is like a big Excel spreadsheet that's composed of tables, right? Tabs in that spreadsheet that are related to each other. I prefer the term records and fields because the term records and fields applies not only to SQLite structures, but any type of structure. So there's records and there's fields, all right? Now, Belkasoft is really well known, or at least one of the things they're well known, is for their excellent SQLite browser capability, right? And I really like the fact that on record type, they tell you if the record comes from the WAL file or the write-ahead log. And again, this is kind of beyond the scope of the presentation, but it's really important if you're an examiner that's starting that you understand SQLite databases and the structure of them and what are the parts. What's a WAL file? What's a database? I see some folks in the chat saying that a pattern of life has been the only thing that guaranteed the conviction, and that's absolutely true. Being able to identify these sources of data and then figure out the steps the suspect, for example, took in order to prove the activity, right? Really important. So we got this database, and you can use Belkasoft for that. Now, the duration of the knowledge C database is around 30 days. And when iOS devices, a lot of this data is fragile, and fragile in the sense of it can go away quickly. That means that if you have a device that's important to your case, you need to make sure you're able to extract the data as soon as you can. Every day that passes that you don't pull out that data is a day that you lose. It's kind of like rolling 30 days. One day passes, that information is lost, and then a new day is grabbed. Okay, so take that into account. Don't wait. If you have an important device to extract it, do it as quickly as possible. Right?